Hello friends, how are you doing? Day 1588. Hope you're doing amazing. So I want to come in and just talk about what happens after a breakup. Do you raise your standards or do you raise your walls? I want you to really actually think about that. And if you don't want to think about that, most likely you raise your walls. And so I'm going to touch mainly about attachment style. If you're not familiar with that, I would definitely encourage you to go study on it. It helps explain behaviors in romantic relationships. It's very powerful. And it helps you understand what's going on. Because sometimes certain behaviors by your partner or your ex-partner just does not make any sense. But when you learn about attachment style, it makes all the sense. Or at least makes it a lot clearer. And hopefully it'll help you gain some closure if you need it. And so, this is the anxious and the avoidance. Okay, let's just talk about those two. Actually, there's a fearful and dismissive avoidant, but let's just clump them together. And so, with an anxious, it can be quite suffocating. And it is, but however, it is not your responsibility to heal them. Just understand that if you are with an insecure partner, it is not your responsibility to heal them. It is their responsibility. The question is whether or not they're willing to. Okay, if they're not, then you have to really ask yourself if you're willing to actually stay with the person and accept them as they are, or find another partner that's more suited to your emotional needs, because it can be very draining. On the other hand, avoidance, a normal amount of needs can be suffocating to them, but they don't understand that. And so, from personal experience, I've actually been with an extreme anxious and I've been with an avoidant. And so I can empathize with you if you've been with any or either one of them. And it is not easy, but hopefully you learned it, or so you used it as a learning opportunity. I know I did for both. And oh my gosh, because I'm like, I was going through so much trauma. I was like, I gotta learn something from here. And so I did. So on the other side now, I'm very grateful for it. But again, after a breakup, now, if you were the avoidant or an anxious, obviously, you probably adapted. Okay. And your attachment style actually can be shifted depending on who your partner is. Because if two avoidants actually come together, the one that's more avoidant will be avoidant, and the other one actually becomes anxious. But if you actually have two anxious people, the one that's more anxious stays anxious, and the other anxious actually becomes a little avoidant. So it can be unhealthy to actually label people a certain way, because for most people, they suck at knowing themselves and being objective when it comes to themselves. And hence, that's why it's good to actually have a therapist or a coach or somebody who actually understands attachment style to actually, or hopefully know you personally, to actually know, to help you understand who you are. But however you are, understand that who you choose as a partner actually will determine your behaviors as well. And so, so after the breakup with an avoidant or an anxious, now, the question I have for you is, are you emotionally unavailable after that experience? Have you ever even thought about that question, if you are familiar with attachment style? Are you saying that you're protecting your peace and saying that you raise your standards? Or did you actually just raise your walls? Because again, if you raise your walls, that means you have not healed. You've only swept things under the rug. And so the thing is, we crave the familiar. However, the familiar is actually not necessarily healthy for us. When we connect and partner up with an anxious or an avoidant, it can seem very magnetic. It's the push-pull dynamic. And so that inconsistency is actually quite unhealthy for us. The safe, steady love that feels uncomfortable to someone who's insecure is actually quite healthy for us. But if we don't realize or don't understand, then we may be suspicious of it. And then what we do is we self-sabotage. We overanalyze everything, and it's just not healthy. And so my recommendation or suggestion to you is to learn how to heal. That requires you to feel all the feelings, reflect on what happened, and reflect on your role in your experience. Because if you don't think it was your fault, then you probably played a bigger part than you thought you did. Because in every relationship, both people have a role in its demise or in its breakup. But are you reflecting on your role? If you're not, then, my guess is you're probably an avoidant. And if you don't think you're avoidant, then you're probably avoidant. And sometimes it's like, what? Because again, we are really poor at understanding ourselves. Even myself, like I've learned this stuff. I've gone through a number of situations. Only more recently, I've started to really understand myself. And the more experience I go through, the deeper I actually learn about myself and understand myself. And I'm so grateful for it. I don't want to go through it again, but I'm grateful for the experiences and the learning. And so, I don't want to drag this up too long, but after a breakup, do you raise your standards or do you raise your walls? Okay, that's the main thing, and I hope you raise your standards. I know for myself, now, in the future relationship, before I get into a relationship, I'm going to have some extra questions I'm going to ask before I commit to one. That way, hopefully it'll give me an idea of where they are in terms of their growth journey and what type of potential attachment style they are, and have a conversation about it. But my gosh, I hope you learn how to raise your standards, not your walls. Raising walls may feel like you're protecting yourself, which you are, from the hurt, but you're also protecting yourself and keeping away all the healthy potential relationships you have as well, because you're not allowing anybody in anymore, because you're not opening up your heart. And if you want a healthy, long-term, phenomenal relationship, you have to risk it. There's no other way. And you know what? I was hurt big time last year, and it took me some time to be able to heal, but I think I'm healed now. I won't know until I go through some stuff, but I think I am. And what I'll say is I'm open, but at the same time, because of what I went through, my heart was tired, if I can say that, if I can use that word. It's just tired. It's like, it's heartbroken. It's like, oh, I'm so tired. Do I want to open it up again? Because it requires so much energy. And if it gets broken again or hurt again, it's like, right? But for what I want, I will have to be open. And I am. And so that's my hope for you, is that whatever heartbreak you've gone through or hurt, that you learn how to heal, learn how to become better, come out on the other side, and be willing to risk it for the right person, okay? Anyways, that's all for tonight. Hope you're doing amazing, and I love you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.